I'm the guy with no kids running around in the world with tons of parents. If you're excited and thrilled and deeply happy inside that your kid is not cutting and caught up in suicide stuff and in all kinds of dangerous behavior, beware. Beware. If you're so relieved that your kid is not a statistic or a casualty, beware. There are so many other dangers. If you're delighted that your kid is not struggling with suicide, is not struggling with cutting themselves, is not acting out in bizarre behavior, what if your kid is actually a part of dangerous mindset for other kids? What if your kid is actually corralling in other kids heading in a direction that in their whole lifespan becomes extremely dangerous and is actually affecting more people problematically? Be holistic. Body, soul, spirit. Okay, 2 tough outfits I've dealt with. The Church of Christ and the Mission Teens outfit. Both of those environments declare, look, you don't have a drug problem, you don't have a depression problem, you don't have a this problem or that problem. You have a sin problem. You have an error problem, a dangerous missing of the mark problem. And the power of Yeshua is actually what breaks that. The power of Yeshua actually even exposes the weaknesses that you have in you that God decides are not going to go away. I mean, that's a cool part of the scriptures where the rabbi says, there's a spirit attached to me that I asked God to take away 3 times, and God basically said, I'm sorry, you don't get to be Jesus. You know, there's an area where your buttons get pushed. So then he says, so I lead with that. I lead with my downside. That's good business. All right, so beware. I mean, God is real and provable. Dead Sea Scrolls prove that the Hebrew Scriptures have never been changed. They're full of hundreds of predictions that point to Jesus of Nazareth. The New Testament is this document that was duplicated so painstakingly, Matthew to Revelation. Yes, there are apocryphal Gospels that are fascinating and interesting, that may add some more details to Jesus' actual life and teachings, but the book, the set of writings that they have like 2,200 copies of stretched across just thousands of years before there was a printing press is amazing. The copies that they have of like Socrates and Plato and ancient Greek things, they have like 2 or 3 copies stretched across hundreds and hundreds of years. The New Testament was like, bam, distributed around the world in one little set. Okay, so you've got a force field of power around the New Testament. You've got some kind of strange protection of the Old Testament. And if you're all angry because there's too many men involved in sharing the information, well, then, hey, I mean, you know, if E.T. comes in your door and he lands and he's blue colored and you hate blue and you run out the back door because you hate blue, you're not going to hang with E.T. You know, it's like, watch out for your bigotry. You know, watch out for how you've been messed with. If you hate men, if you hate women, if you hate Christians, something like that. So, beware. Be careful. Watch. Be aware. Understand that if your child is not hurting themselves, if your child is not locked in suicide, depression spirit, what if your child is locked in a type of greed or pride or self-centeredness that has no awareness of the spirit realm around them? What if they're being carried along in a form that ends up being carried by dark spirits into a direction and then just dropped at some point 23 years from now? It is really important to realize that we do not have a suicide problem, a depression problem, a drug problem, a sex addiction problem, a alcohol problem, an anger management problem. We have a sin problem. Sin is a dangerous missing of the mark. Taking a shot at something, well, let me explain your condition to you. I want to take a shot at explaining your condition to you. If you take a shot at explaining somebody's condition to them without an awareness of the invisible spirit realm and the afterlife, you're making a grave mistake. Okay? So you've just made a sin. You have just sinned. And discerning the stuff of the spirit realm includes the fact that Jesus transferred supernatural powers onto 12 people. They went away and they came back and they're like, oh my gosh, even the spirits run away. And then he put power on 70 people, sent them out. He didn't go with them. He just sent them out. They came back and they're like, hey, even the spirits submit to us. And then he goes back into the spirit realm. He pours out his spirit on 120 people. They've got flames over their heads. And they're all speaking, and they are heard in 15 different languages. 120 people are being heard in 15 different languages. Okay? How cool is that? Alright? If you're not interested in this, go away, shut down, leave, leave, leave. But if this touches you, whatever, contact me, ask me a question. I care about your kids, okay? You know, greed and pride. You know, I'm going to get what I'm going to get, and I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. The whole education combine is a series of little cracker crumbs, little cookie crumbs that are leading in a certain direction until the person is locked in a marriage, locked in a business, locked in all these things, and they weren't even consulting highest wisdom through all that time. Please understand. Look at Acts chapter 13 and Acts chapter 15. When you get in one mind and one accord and you spend time thanking God, spending time thanking God, if you purify yourself, if you renounce what is wrong and evil, as described in the Jesus words in the Sermon on the Mount, if you renounce that, at least for now, you know, if you're in bad relationship, anger with somebody, hatred, revenge towards somebody, you just say, I renounce that revenge. I renounce that anger. I renounce that intimate relationship. I renounce this situation or that situation. We just renounce all questionable things, spend time loving on God, and actual information comes over you from the heaven realm for guidance. Not just you, but a group of people. That happened both in 1 Corinthians 13 and 1 Corinthians 15 when the Jerusalem Council says, well, it seemed good to us and to the Holy Spirit that we only give the Gentiles this list of 4 things to follow, not a bunch of rules and regulations. So anyhow, just wanted to make a short shot on this. It's been burning in my heart. Do not be all happy and comfortable and think everything's okay just because your kid is not, you know, screwing up, bizarre, committing suicide, you know, in depression, etc., etc. There's stuff going on that you need to be hip to. That's the alarm for the 3 p.m. prayer. At the 3rd hour, Jesus gave up his spirit. That's recorded. There was darkness came over the land for 3 hours from 12 to 3, and at 3 o'clock, the guy who is God gave up his spirit, knowing he was going to resurrect from the dead and prove to us that he was a real visitation. Think about it. Talk to him. He likes to talk back. Like, Holy Spirit, fire, sparkles, pow, understanding, loving kindness. Separate yourself. Purify yourself. God's trying